Uh, Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this morning's live stream event. I'm joined here in Harrisburg by Deputy Director Chris Brown of the Law Bureau, Deputy Director of our Bureau of Technical Utility Services, Darren Gill, the Commission's Secretary, Rosemary Chiavetta, from our Office of Communications, Cindy Page, and from our Bureau of Consumer Services, Michelle Tate and Annette Falcone. Now, unfortunately, at today's live stream event, it's only one-way communication. However, if you do have any questions about anything said this morning, please feel free to reach out to me after the call, either by email or by phone. My contact information is on the emails that went out this morning. Also, a summary of this call will be distributed to the distribution list sometime later this week, and that summary will also include any questions that may be of interest to the entire group. Now with that, I'd like to start on today's agenda with Deputy Director Darren Gill from our Bureau of Technical Utility Services. Darren?
Thank you. Good morning. I have just four brief things, should take 5 minutes or less to go over. Two of the things are reminders. One is a favor to ask of the EGS, NGS community, and one is an update. So first of all, just a reminder, overall the industry is doing very well, but a reminder on the financial securities for the EGSs. Make sure that your bonds and financial securities, letter of credits are placed on file with the Commission annually, and that the value of the bond is correct. I think we're seeing a lot of the bonds, letter of credits filed on an annual basis or continual bonds. The issue is not so much that there isn't a financial security in place. A lot of times it's the amount. So make sure you check your gross receipt amounts and make sure that that does match up with what's on the bond. Second thing on that is if you're filing for a 5% bond reduction, recognize the Commission did change the process on that in the last year, that the bond reduction is no longer a petition annually. It's an initial petition followed up by annual reports and annual updates. The second thing quickly here is that a reminder to file your annual sales reports. This goes towards both the NGSs and EGSs. The annual sales reports that are due in April each year are very important to the Commission. For the NGS side, it's used for the annual fees and supplemental fees, and for the EGS side, it's used for those same fees, but also used to check and ensure that the bonding and financial security levels are correct. The third thing quickly is our Bureau of Technical Utility Services. We're initiating a review of the EGS and NGS application packages. I'm assuming most, if not everybody on this call is already licensed, so this is the favor I'm asking. When you filled out your application packages, if you found anything that was awkward, unintuitive, things that you questioned about it, please send me an email and let me know if there are things that you think on the application package should be clarified, in any way reviewed, or even if you think it's not correct, let me know. Dan's going to send out a summary with my contact information if you want to call me or email me, but just quickly, my phone number direct is 717-783-5244. And my email is dgill@pa.gov. Would very much appreciate any input on updating those packages. And the final thing is associated with that. We are moving to not only update those packages, but hopefully put them in a fillable form on the website, bring us more into the year 2020. So that you can fill them out on the website. Now, you wouldn't be able to just submit them electronically because of the nature of a lot of the confidential stuff, but you'd at least fill it out on the web, and then you could print it out and then send it in that way, make it a lot easier for both sides. One of the issues we're having is that we get a lot of applications, and things are still blank because people don't feel that it's applicable to them. Hopefully, this fillable form will allow us to have a lot less of that, because you won't be able to skip sections that we really need filled out. So that's all I had, was just those reminders and the ask of the industry. And like I said, I'll probably provide a little more detail to Dan in the summary that he sends out. So thank you.
Darren, did you have a time frame that you would like parties to get back to you with their advice or input on the application form?
Yeah, thank you. I had written down here, but didn't even read my own notes. If you could do that by the end of February, that would be timely. I think that works well with us trying to get our website updated.
Thank you, Darren. Up next, the Commission's Secretary, Rosemary Chiavetta. Rosemary?
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. I'm Rosemary Chiavetta, the Secretary of the Commission. Many of you should recognize my name. You see it often enough when the Commission sends you out something like an order or a complaint or a decision. If you look at your license, it's on there. So thank you to Dan and Chris for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about, especially today, keeping your contact information current with the Commission. This is your responsibility to keep the Commission updated with any changes in your contact information, such as, first, the physical mailing address. It must be within the United States. We cannot accept a foreign address to ensure service. Why? Because if a formal complaint is filed against your company, my office needs to serve that upon you by certified mail. It must be within the United States. Receiving important documents from the Commission, such as orders, secretarial letters, data requests, a letter telling you to file your security timely, or policy statements with important information. This is why you need to keep that mailing address current. Second, who do we serve? We serve the person designated by your company to receive service from the Commission. If that person leaves your organization, you need to tell us about that. You need to make that change with us. Where do we serve it to? The most current and correct physical mailing address of your company, and along with that person designated to accept service on your behalf. So if the designated person has a different address, then we need both addresses. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I just had a supplier, they lost their license because the person we always served left the company. And the new employees, instead of opening the official envelope from the PUC, they actually forwarded that mail to the departed employee. Their petition for reconsideration was denied. On that reason, they had to start all over again with the new application. Again, another example is a supplier's license was canceled because they never responded to the Commission's tentative order, giving them an opportunity to save their license before a final order was issued canceling it. They received the final order but said they never received the tentative order. And the supplier's records showed that 7 different addresses were on our records. And by chance, we served all 7 of those addresses. And still, all 7 came back undeliverable. So the supplier wonders why they got canceled. There's a perfect example. This is the most basic responsibility you have as a licensed supplier, to keep your contact information current with my office. Not with another bureau of the Commission, but with the Secretary's Bureau, because this is where we keep the Commission's central records updated, and because that is where all the other bureaus in the Commission come to the Secretary's Bureau to serve data requests, secretarial letters, and other documents. The Commission retains proof of each undeliverable service that comes back to us. We also have access to check with the post office. So if an electronic signature accepted the service on behalf of the supplier, these become a part of the supplier's official record in case there is ever a dispute. So if you use the excuse, I didn't get it, you'd better be ready to back that up with proof, because we've won many cases on appeal in the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania on this sole issue. Another problem we've been seeing is using a contractor. A supplier uses a contractor to make filings on your behalf with the Commission. One in particular is called License Logics. These contractors make filings on a supplier's behalf. We regularly have to pend or return them for deficiencies. This delays action on your filing. Or worse yet, a supplier hires the contractor to file your security instrument, your bond, your letter of credit, And then I've seen suppliers pay for these services and then get their license canceled because the contractor failed to act timely or file the required documents. So the supplier's only recourse is to start their application all over again and sue the contractor. And it's very sad to see that kind of a situation. So please make sure you check on your contractor if you do hire somebody to do these things for you. Make sure they are following through. Remember, the responsibility is yours. The legal precedent is on the side of the commission if you fail in that responsibility. That's why updates to your contact information are so important to ensure proper service. This happens especially when a formal complaint is filed against you. You only have 20 days to respond to a complaint or file some sort of responsive pleading, such as an answer or a certificate of satisfaction. And while Section 702 of the Public Utility Code designates the secretary to serve a regulated or a licensed utility with that formal complaint. Now, we could serve that formal complaint to you in two ways: by certified mail, which takes days to get to you, or by e-service, which is almost instantaneous. A section of 702 was just amended by the General Assembly last year. So you now have a choice. You can choose to be served by either certified mail or e-service. If you accept the e-service, you get the complaint immediately, you take advantage of the whole 20 days to answer it, or better yet, you can resolve the matter with the complainant. The other advantage is when decisions, orders, secretarial letters, or other general policy statements are served by the commission to you and all suppliers. If you accept e-service, you don't wait for this to come to you for days. Through certified mail, you get it in almost instantaneously. What is e-service? It's not email. I get that question all the time. Emails and faxes are not considered official filings with the commission. They will be rejected. E-service is electronic service through the commission's website when you open up an e-filing account. And when the commission is serving you a document, you can elect to receive it by e-service. Now, when the commission has sent something to you, you get it instantly through the e-service. So every time, as I said, we have to file, we have to send something to all the suppliers. That costs a huge chunk of change by the commission. So plus that decision or that policy statement or whatever OCMO or the commission is trying to relay to you does take some time. So again, if you have the e-service, I strongly recommend it. How do you get it? You open up an e-filing account. It's free. How many things in this life are free anymore? So if you get onto our website, our e-filing page, you can open up an e-filing account. The instructions are there to show you everything of what we offer with that account. You can sign up for corporate account, which permits you and several individuals in your organization to have access to that, to e-filing. Just keep an internal record of who has it. Your passwords, keep them handy, because if someone on your account then leaves your organization, leaves your company, you want to be able to make sure you delete them, and then you want to be ensuring that you want to replace them with somebody else that's come into your company. The main thing is remember to update that information with the commission when that change occurs. E-filing allows you to file all qualified documents that are listed on the website and available to e-file with the commission. What can't be e-filed? Anything that's confidential or proprietary, such as your security instrument or financial information. That still has to come through us the old-fashioned way by filing it with my office. And that's a security measure that's built into the system. If you try to file a confidential or proprietary document, the system will reject it, and that protects you. E-filing, you got to make sure you file on time if you're trying to meet a deadline. If a document is due on a particular day, you must e-file by 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I get this all the time with a lot of suppliers are located in Houston, they're located in other parts of the country. You have to make sure that you're filing, if you're trying to meet a deadline, by 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania time. All right, that computer does not lie, because if you file past 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, your filing is not going to be accepted. It's going to be accepted on the next day, the next business day. So then you may have missed a deadline. So if you find yourself up against the wall, you can't meet the 4:30 Eastern Standard Time deadline, throw the filing in overnight delivery. Why? Because the deposit date preserves your filing date, according to the Commission's rules of practice and procedure. We allow the date of deposit in overnight delivery, certified, or priority mail to become your filing date, even though we physically receive it not for another day or two. Okay? Once you've e-filed, you'll get a confirmation notice. If you don't, that means you may have forgotten to hit the final button or do something in order to submit the filing to the Commission. If you get a rejection, means that there was a confidential document in there or there was some other problem, but you can always give us a call or give us an email and we'll try to help you correct it. You can always call us. You can always email us with a problem. Email is faster. It's rchiavetta@pa.gov, exactly like my name is spelled. Our contact information is on the website. I don't mind getting emails from people because I will pass them on to my staff so they can look into what the problem is, or up to Darren's folks in technical utility services. One last tip, what else can you get with your e-filing account? This is extremely helpful to you. It's called subscriptions, and it's free. This means you can get automatically notified by an email alert if there's any change to any case you're a party to or you're monitoring the progression of. It really helps when you need to know that something is going on. You will get an email with a little link. You click onto the link and there's the document that now suddenly has appeared on that docket. Okay? So I just want to make sure that you have these tools available to you, and if you do need any help, of course, you can call or email our office. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Rosemary. Up next, Cindy Page from our Office of Communications is going to be updating you on some upcoming changes to our websites. Cindy?
Hi, I'm here to talk about PA Power Switch and give you an update on what's happening with that website. First of all, we are updating it, we're enhancing it. Many things will look the same, but there's a few things that will be changing. First of all, it'll be almost instant page loads, which will make a lot of people happy, especially if you have a slower computer. And we're also doing a filter feature, which is just, when you pick from the filter results, instead of, if you click on fixed and variable rates, all of a sudden the list will change to fixed and variable rates. You don't have to scroll down after you do that and hit the submit button. So that'll make it a lot easier. And we're also going to have a comparison feature. So people can pick up to 8 different supply offers, and then it will list them side by side so they can comparison shop and look at up to 8 offers at once, which will be a nice addition for consumers to actually see what they're shopping for. We listened and we heard you, so solar will be an option on the renewables page, so people can, if they want wind, solar, I cannot remember what else is there, that'll be one of the filtering lists that they can look at. We're also looking at time of use. We won't have anything on this upgrade at this time, but we are taking a look at that for the future. As suppliers, your back-end experience will change on the PA Power Switch website, so we will be sending out a new user's guide on how to do that, and we will also be resetting all passwords for suppliers that are supplier accounts that are active at this point in time. And you're probably wondering, when will this all happen? Well, we will send out information through Dan and Charge to give you an idea of when this will happen. But at this point, on or around February 10th, we will stop all input to the website. So no one can make any updates to that time. So we can move all information over to the new servers, and we will be launching the new website on February 18th. So this will give you plenty of time to make your updates to your price to compare for those that will be changing on March 1st. And we would hope that once it goes live on around the 18th, that you will go in, update your passwords, and have your account, look around your account whether you're making any updates at that time or not, just so you get a feel for how the website will work. I also wanted to let you know that the PUC's puc.pa.gov website will also be updating probably within the next month, and that will change really how suppliers are listed on the website. It's getting a bit of an overhaul. So you'll see some changes. The whole website will change, and it'll be much easier for everyone to use. So that's my update. If you have any questions concerning PA Power Switch, or we always look for suggestions on how to update the website, you can email me, and it's cypage, cypage@pa.gov. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. And as Cindy mentioned, yes, in the summary of this call, I will be providing details, especially that important information about your account and the fact that you're going to need to reset your account here in February before the new updated website launches. Up next from our Bureau of Consumer Services is Michelle Tate and Annette Falcone, who are going to discuss informal complaint procedures and also door-to-door marketing. Michelle?
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. Again, my name is Michelle Tate. I'm with the Bureau of Consumer Services. BCS is the area within PUC that chiefly receives, investigates, and responds to consumer utility complaints at the informal level. I'm here today to talk about the informal complaint procedures and tips to utilities in developing your company report in response to a customer complaint that is filed with the PUC. I'm sure many on the line are familiar with the informal complaint process. The process is usually initiated by a consumer contacting BCS with a complaint. Upon receipt of that complaint, BCS will notify the utility about the complaint, and the utility in question will have up to 30 days or sooner to provide a response concerning the utility or suppliers are required to respond to the complaint in writing as soon as possible or no later than 30 days. After the PUC investigation, the staff will notify and issue a binding informal decision. What's important to note within this process is the company's responsibility in their report to provide as much information and documentation to support your position and to demonstrate your company's compliance with applicable rules and regulations. It's very important that you include all relevant facts about the enrollment and the company's investigation. For example, explain what occurred, what was said, document dates, times, whom the company spoke with before and or after the complaint was filed. It's also very important to include specific information to document the enrollment process and the separate verification process. Again, be thorough and complete as possible and provide supporting evidence such as the signed enrollment form, welcome letter, disclosure statement, contract summary, audio files, marketing materials. If the complaint involves a billing or payment complaint, we ask that you please submit the customer's account statement and, just to try to be as succinct and detailed as possible with the information that you provide to BCS. Again, we emphasize open lines of communication. If you have any questions about the informal complaint process and the obligations of the company to submit a detailed report, I'm happy to answer or address any questions you may have. Also, to emphasize open lines of communication. If you encounter any problems or issues that impact customer service, we ask that you be proactive and contact Bureau of Consumer Services to discuss those issues so we can resolve them immediately and as soon as possible. My name again is Michelle Tate. I can be reached. My direct telephone is 717-787-5155, and I can be reached by email at mtate@pa.gov. Thanks, Dan.
Now, Annette Falcone's going to discuss door-to-door reporting to the Bureau of Consumer Services. Annette?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Annette Falcone. I'm with the Policy Division in BCS, and I'm responsible for handling the notifications that you send in regard to your door-to-door marketing activity. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to those of you who already do that. You're doing a great job, so that's kudos. But the new people who may be considering going that route, that they would like to conduct door-to-door marketing, there are a lot of real specific guidelines that are spelled out. So for those of you who are new, and a reminder for the others, just that we receive these notifications no later than the morning of the day that you're going to conduct your door-to-door marketing. And just some other reminders about the agents, that you've conducted criminal background checks on them, what they're supposed to wear, their lanyards, their picture ID, clothing, those type of things. It's always a good idea to check with the area that you're going to be in, just to let them know that you're going to be in that area conducting this. And also that if there are any local ordinances that you'd need to follow, it would be your responsibility as well. In particular, right now until the end of March, the time frame is till 7 at night. So it's 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. if you're doing any of that activity now. A couple other things, if the customer wants you to, or the homeowner, whatever, would want you to leave, you are to do so immediately when asked to do so. And after that, they would have to do the verification after you've left, unless they okayed for you to be there during that process. So my particular phone number is 717-783-9088, and my email is anfalcone@pa.gov. We do have a dedicated email address for the door-to-door notifications, but if you would need to ask questions in regard to any of these requirements, you can call me directly or email me. It's worked out pretty well that if you can give notification timelines of 1 month or less, that seems to be a good range for us, and that you would give the specific areas and the dates of your activity. You don't have to break it down by EDC, NGDC, but just zip codes or city, towns, boroughs, and the dates involved. And one other thing, I also am responsible to send out any infractions you might receive after an informal complaint has been received by us. If there would be an infraction, I'd be sending that out, and my name is on that. You're welcome to call, to reach out. It's meant to be a learning process, so we can certainly discuss. But that's why when Michelle said to send in any supporting documentation, it's best to do so before the complaint has been closed, rather than try to backpedal at the end. One area I have seen a lot of activity in is in regard to the verification, because there's so many different formats now for that. Sometimes we'll see enrollment forms being submitted to prove that it wasn't a slam, but in that regard, we'd want to see a copy of the actual verification. So whether it be a TPV or an ETPV or whatnot, just be mindful of that. So again, if I can help you in any way, feel free to reach out to me, and I guess that's all I have. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Annette and Michelle. And yeah, if there is any supplier out there that is not engaged in door-to-door activity but are planning to do so in the future, we always encourage a supplier like that to reach out to us to either come in and discuss, or we can arrange a phone call to discuss the door-to-door regulations. There's quite a few regulations around door-to-door activity, and before any supplier engages in that activity, we strongly encourage you to reach out to us. Speaking of marketing, as noted in the email, the Commission is going to be reviewing the Chapter 111 residential supplier marketing regulations this year, and we are inviting informal comments from any interested stakeholder. Those informal comments can be submitted on any topic related to supplier marketing. However, as noted in the email, we are specifically interested in some subject areas, such as telemarketing. Specifically, we're interested in comments on the possibility of creating a reporting requirement for telemarketing similar to what we have for door-to-door marketing. Namely that suppliers would be obligated to report to the Commission when they plan on doing telemarketing. Also interested in getting comments on the sales verification procedures to accommodate new and evolving technologies. Also, the quality control and oversight of marketing vendors. Another area, renewable energy. We do have marketing regulations on renewable energy, but they're actually in a different body of regulation that dates back to the 90s. You'll see noted on the email that I sent. Do those need to be updated considering how old they are? Also, rules for direct mail marketing and in-person marketing. Again, if you read the current regulations, there's very little, if any, on those forms of marketing. Back in 2012, when we promulgated these rules, the emphasis was overwhelmingly on door-to-door activity. We didn't say a whole lot about other marketing methods. So again, we're interested in comment on those areas that we may have overlooked back in 2012. Now, we've already had some informal discussions with various stakeholders that have raised various topics, again, that we're putting on the table here for informal comment, including brokering. The current regulations say nothing about brokering because in the residential segment that really wasn't occurring, but we are now seeing that now. It's becoming more common, so do we need to have some regulations around residential brokering, such as disclosing who is compensating the broker? Does the broker have any affiliate relations that they should disclose, etc.? Another issue raised by a stakeholder is a possible reporting requirement on supplier prices that exceed a certain threshold. If a supplier is marketing a particular product at a price that exceeds a certain threshold, should there be some sort of reporting requirement so that the Commission can monitor the market more effectively? Again, inviting informal comments on that. These informal comments can be emailed. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It can just be an email sent to the OCMO inbox. Again, that contact information is in the email, and it will also be in the summary that I'll be distributing. We are asking for these informal comments by Friday, February 21st. Again, if the deadline's approaching and someone needs a bit of an extension, please reach out to me. We should be able to work something out there. Because these are informal comments, we do not intend to post these on the website or share them publicly. However, I cannot promise confidentiality because Pennsylvania does have a right-to-know law. So if someone were to file a right-to-know request about these documents, that matter would have to go to our right-to-know staff and attorneys to determine whether those are disclosable or not. So I cannot promise confidentiality, but it is not our plan to post or share these informal comments. Also, if a party would prefer to instead talk about these matters in person or by a phone call, or in addition to their written informal comments, we can accommodate that as well. Again, please just reach out to me and we can set up a phone call or a visit. If you're interested in that, we would like to get that done sometime in February or March, so please don't delay on any such request. Upon a review of the informal comments, we will likely prepare a NOPR with specific proposals for formal comment. So the important thing there is there will be additional opportunities to comment on these matters more formally down the road. And again, these comments coming in on February 24th are informal comments. So please do not send them to our secretary. Do not file them formally. Do not use the e-service because there is no docket for this proceeding yet. There'll be no place to put those comments. So please just email them to the OCMO inbox. Now, before wrapping up today's call, I just want to update everyone on a few pending matters here at the Commission. Look for a final rulemaking order with revisions to the Chapter 54 EGS disclosure regulations at an upcoming public meeting. As we move toward implementation of those new rules, we will likely convene an in-person meeting here in Harrisburg with all the stakeholders, especially the residential suppliers. It's something we do every 2 years or so, so we're about due to do that anyways. It will likely be sometime this summer, and we'll be in touch with various stakeholders as we try to schedule a date for that. On the default service investigation, last Thursday, the Commission issued a secretarial letter. If you did not get that, please, we did email it to the distribution group, but if you, for some reason, did not get that, please contact me, and I'll make sure you get it. That secretarial letter closed the investigation and made several requests of electric utilities and stakeholders as all parties prepare for the next round of default service plans. Questions about that secretarial letter can be directed to me, Chris Brown, or Darren Gill, and that information is provided in the secretarial letter itself. Speaking of default service, yes, the next round of default service plans, we are expecting them to be filed here within the coming weeks. PPL, PECO, and Duquesne Light, their current default service plans expire in June of 2021. As those filings come in, we will be sending out emails to the distribution group so that everyone is aware that these filings have taken place, and we will provide you the docket number for those proceedings. As Rosemary mentioned, you can use the subscription service on our website to monitor those default service plan proceedings. Even if you are not a party of record, you still may want to subscribe to the proceedings simply so that you will be notified and kept up to date as to what's going on in those proceedings. And again, we'll have additional information about the subscription service in the summary that I'll be sending everyone. And again, anyone with any questions about anything discussed here this morning, please reach out to me either by phone or email. Again, the contact information's on the emails that went out earlier. Before we wrap up today's event, I just want to ask the panel if anyone has any last things to say. Okay, well, thank you again, everyone, for your assistance this morning, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we look forward to your questions. Thank you.